Welcome to the Queen Liz channel and the ATM Daughter, a story about family, fraud, and the courage to break free from toxic cycles. Before we dive into this story of family dysfunction, abuse, and survival, Queen Liz would appreciate if you would watch this video to the end and take 1 second to hit that like button, drop a comment below, and share this video. It costs you absolutely nothing, but it powerfully triggers the algorithm to push our content globally and directly supports the growth of the Queen Liz community. Turn your notifications on so you never miss what is next from Queen Liz. And now, the ATM Daughter, a tale of family, fraud, and walking away. Meet a family where love is conditional and success is treated as a shared community asset. At the center of this toxic ecosystem are Brenda and Tom, parents who have spent decades enabling their sons while treating their only daughter as a 24/7 ATM and IT hotline. Their undisputed golden child is Leo, the youngest sibling and a charismatic but deeply delusional crypto influencer. Shielded from consequences his entire life, Leo funds his flashy lifestyle with borrowed money and reckless digital schemes. Then there is Derek, the eldest. As a mediocre corporate manager, he has mastered the art of taking credit for others' work, projecting a hollow illusion of prestige while fleeing from any actual responsibility. Left holding the pieces is Chloe, the middle child and family black sheep. As a brilliant, exhausted cybersecurity consultant, she is the only one grounded in reality. Despite being constantly overlooked and belittled, she is the one they inevitably call to fix their self-inflicted messes. But this parasitic dynamic is about to implode. When Leo's latest venture is exposed as a devastating financial scam, it brings legal trouble and bankruptcy right to the parents' doorstep. As the family demands Chloe sacrifice her own savings and career to bail the golden child out, the ATM daughter must finally decide whether to pay up one last time or cut the cord forever. Growing up, the dynamic was clear. Chloe was expected to sacrifice her own dreams to prop up her brother's fragile success. The memory of her senior year still burned vividly. She had rushed into the kitchen, her valedictorian medal cold against her collarbone, clutching an early acceptance letter to MIT. "Mom, Dad, they offered a partial scholarship," Chloe had gasped, her hands shaking with pure excitement. Brenda hadn't even looked up from meticulously ironing Leo's soccer uniform. "That's nice, sweetie. But you know we can't afford out-of-state tuition. State college is fine for you." Before Chloe could argue, Tom walked in, holding a receipt that made her stomach drop. "Just bought Leo the top-tier MacBook Pro. He needs it for his graphic design camp," he announced, slapping the paper onto the counter. "But my national coding competition is next month. My laptop's keyboard is literally taped together," Chloe protested, her throat tightening. "Don't be selfish, Chloe," Tom snapped, his jaw ticking in that familiar warning way. "Leo has a real shot at going pro. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Besides, your brother needs our support." Chloe had stood there, watching Leo smirk from the hallway, realizing then that her brilliance would only ever be viewed as a backup generator for his glaring inadequacies. The suffocating silence wasn't just a rejection, it was a life sentence. Even at dinner, the family's dismissiveness was palpable. Dad sneers at Chloe. "Nice of you to join us, Chloe. Your brother was telling us about his promotion." Chloe just looks tired and sits stiffly, then stares at her plate, desperately wanting to be anywhere else. The entire evening had been an exhausting shrine to Leo, who was currently filming himself eating for his online followers, completely ignoring the real world. "Derek got a promotion," Mom suddenly announced, beaming proudly over her wine glass. Derek smirked, feigning humility as he adjusted his expensive, unearned watch. "It was not a promotion, Mom. It was a desk relocation. Corner window, though." Father didn't miss a beat. He pointed his fork at Derek approvingly, then cut his eyes toward his daughter. "It is still movement," he responded, his tone dripping with casual cruelty. "It's still more than Chloe's doing. Hiding behind a computer all day isn't exactly a real career." Chloe gripped her napkin under the table, her fingernails biting into her palms. She was a senior cybersecurity expert, funding their very lifestyle, yet treated like an unemployed teenager. "Dad, I just spearheaded a massive corporate contract." "Hold on, my stream is glitching," Leo interrupted loudly, waving his phone in the air. "Mom, the Wi-Fi sucks," Brenda gasped, immediately turning a harsh, expectant glare on Chloe. "Well, don't just sit there. Go restart the router and fix the network. Honestly, Chloe, if you're not going to contribute to the family's success, at least make yourself useful." The financial demands didn't just escalate, they suffocated her. Chloe stood in her parents' kitchen, slamming a stack of past due notices onto the counter. "I am not paying for Leo's luxury car lease," she stated, her voice trembling but firm. "I already covered your mortgage this month. I'm completely tapped out. Tom's face darkened. He slammed his coffee mug down, the ceramic cracking loudly against the granite island. You ungrateful brat, he snarled, stepping aggressively into her personal space. We put a roof over your head for 18 years, and this is how you repay us? I've repaid that roof 10 times over. Chloe shot back, digging her nails into her palms, refusing to shrink away. Brenda burst into performative tears, dramatically clutching her chest. How can you be so cold? Your brother's brand needs to look successful to attract investors. If he loses that car, his business collapses. Do you really want to destroy his future? It's a fake business, Mom. Chloe pleaded, desperate for them to see reality. Derek chimed in from the doorway, arms lazily crossed. You've always been jealous of him. Just wire the money, Chloe. Don't tear this family apart over a few $1,000s. It's $20,000, she cried. Money you wouldn't have without our sacrifices, Tom barked, jabbing a thick finger in her face. Transfer those funds by noon, or don't bother calling us your family. The emotional blackmail hung in the room, a toxic fog meant to choke her into submission. Chloe's tension headache peaks as she sits under the heavy dining room chandelier, suffocated by their glares. This dynamic is the very catalyst forcing her to the edge. You don't get it, Chloe, Derek sneers, swirling his wine. Your little tech job is just support. Leo is the one building a legacy. You're lucky we let you contribute to a real future. Exactly, Brenda says, leaning over Chloe's chair. Your brother needs his launch money, and Tom's insurance is due. Stop being so cold. Log into your banking app and transfer it. Chloe feels entirely cornered, the trap closing in. Desperate for a shred of mutual respect, she tries one last reach out. If I give you this, will you finally see me? Will you stop treating me like an outsider who only exists to pay your bills? Tom slams his fist down, rattling the silverware. Don't lecture us about respect. You owe this family everything. Do as you're told. A wave of regret hits Chloe, not for refusing, but for ever believing they would change. She looks at their demanding faces and feels a sudden, sharp vindication. The realization washes over her. The trap only holds power if she continues to fund the lock. Without a word, Chloe snaps her laptop shut. She doesn't transfer a single cent. She stands up, grabs her heavy bag, and walks toward the door, leaving their angry voices echoing into an empty room. The scene stretches into midnight. Chloe slumps at the kitchen island, her eyes bloodshot as she monitors a live ransomware attack for a hospital network. Her phone buzzes with critical alerts. She is running on empty, her career on the line. Can you hurry up? Tom barks from his armchair, not looking away from the TV. The Wi-Fi is still buffering. You've been staring at that screen for hours, doing nothing useful. Dad, people's medical data is being stolen, Chloe says, her voice cracking with exhaustion. I am trying to stop a cyber attack. Derek scoffs, walking into the kitchen to grab a soda, always making it sound so dramatic. It's just typing, Chloe. Real executives delegate that stuff. By the way, my landlord needs my rent advance by tomorrow. Just send it to my Venmo. Brenda hovers near, dumping a pile of unpaid utilities next to Chloe's mousepad. And don't forget the premium channel, sweetie. Your father needs his sports. Suffocated, Chloe looks at her parents. One last desperate plea escapes her lips. I am drowning here. I need a family right now, not a collection agency. Can someone just ask me how my day was? Just once? The room goes dead silent. Brenda sighs heavily, rolling her eyes. Oh, don't start with the self-pity, Chloe. You have the money. It's the least you can do. A wave of bitter regret hits Chloe, forever hoping they would care. But right behind it comes a surge of pure, freezing vindication. She doesn't need their permission to be free. She quietly shuts her work laptop, slides the utility bills back across the counter, and leaves them in the dark. The argument in the dining room reaches a fever pitch. Brenda leans across the table, her face contorted in a mask of calculated fury. Listen to me, Chloe, Brenda whispers, her voice cutting through the room. If you don't write this check for Leo, you are dead to this family. We will lock you out of this house, strip your name from our lives, and never speak to you again. You'll be entirely alone. Chloe's heart hammers against her ribs. Pushed to her absolute breaking point, she looks around the table. Leo is smirking, already texting someone about the money he assumes is his. Tom is nodding in cold agreement with Brenda's threat. Desperate, she makes one last reach out, her voice trembling. Mom, Dad, please. If I pay this, I won't have enough for my own rent. I've given you everything for years. Doesn't my life have any value to you? Don't you love me at all? Love doesn't pay the bills, Tom snarls back. Do it, or you're cut off. A heavy wave of regret crashes over Chloe. Regret for the decades she wasted begging for the bare minimum from monsters. But right behind the pain comes a searing, liberating flash of vindication. She looks at the checkbook in her hands and realizes the truth. Being cut off by them isn't a punishment. It's a rescue. Fine, Chloe says, her voice suddenly dead calm. She tears the blank check to pieces, drops the scraps onto her mother's plate, and walks out the door. Chloe stands in the center of the dark living room, holding the printed loan documents. Chloe's resolve peaks as she forces her parents to look at the paperwork, but Tom and Brenda just stare at the pages with blank, stubborn denial. Look at the timestamp. Chloe's voice cracks, the reality of Leo's fraud crashing down on her. He didn't just take an allowance. He used your identity to steal $150,000. The bank is going to take this house. Brenda pushes the papers away, her expression hardening. Leo is an innovator, Chloe. He just bypassed the red tape. You're trying to ruin his career because you can't stand seeing him succeed. He stole from you, Chloe cries, making one last desperate reach out. She grabs her father's hands, her eyes pleading. Dad, please, look at me. I can help you lock down your identity and report this before the fraud destroys you. Just admit he went too far. Let me protect you. Tom pulls his hands away, his face turning an angry, defensive red. We don't need protection from our own son. Mind your business, Chloe. A deep, bitter regret settles in her chest, not for trying to save them, but for believing they would ever choose reality over their golden child. Yet right behind the pain comes a freezing wave of vindication. She has handed them the life raft, and they have thrown it back in her face. Chloe realizes she is finally absolved of their ruin. She picks up her bag and steps back into the shadows. The papers rattle in Chloe's shaking hands as she lays out the digital footprints. Chloe's useless defense of her parents builds as she pulls up the fraudulent IP logs on her tablet, proving Leo systematically drained their equity. Mom, Dad, look at the IP addresses. Chloe pleads, her voice rising in desperation. This isn't a mistake. He didn't just borrow money. He trapped you in a predatory lending scheme to pay for a rented mansion. It's a house of cards, and it's collapsing right now. Brenda scoffs, crossing her arms tightly. You've always hated how easily success comes to your brother, Chloe. He's an influencer. He moves in circles you can't understand with your little office job. He is a con artist, Chloe cries, making one last heartbreaking reach out. She steps closer, looking directly into her father's eyes. Dad, please, look at the data. If you let me file a cyber fraud report right now, we can stop the foreclosure. I will do the legal work for you. Just trust me. Just this once. Let me save you. Tom glares at her, his jaw clenched in stubborn pride. We trust our son. We don't need a jealous cynic ruining his business. Get out of our house. A profound regret washes over Chloe, the painful realization that they would rather drown in delusion than be rescued by the truth. But right behind it comes a sharp, quiet vindication. She has done her duty. She owes them nothing more. Chloe packs her tablet, turns her back on their willful blindness, and walks away. Chloe sits in her sunlit townhouse kitchen, a cup of coffee cooling between her hands. The silence is magnificent. For 3 months, her new life has been a sanctuary of independence. Yet, her peace is suddenly disrupted when her phone begins to buzz aggressively on the marble counter, vibrating against a stack of unread corporate performance reviews. The screen lights up with back-to-back alerts. She doesn't pick up, watching the digital audio waveforms translate into text notifications in real time. The first voicemail transcribes, Chloe, it's Derek. I need 10 grand by Friday or my car gets repossessed. You have the money. Stop being selfish. A minute later, a second alert pops up. Chloe, please answer. Brenda's transcribed text reads, Leo's legal fees went up, and Tom's blood pressure is spiking. You owe us support. Staring at the notifications, Chloe makes one final, quiet reach out, not out of obligation, but for her own closure. She types a single text to the family group chat. I hope you all find your own way, but I will never be your fallback option again. Goodbye. A flicker of old, conditioned guilt twinges in her chest. She regrets the years she wasted trying to buy their love, but it is instantly replaced by a wave of cold, powerful vindication. She owes them nothing. With a steady hand, Chloe taps the group info, hits block group, and turns her phone face down. She sips her coffee, finally wrapping herself in the absolute peace she earned. Flashing red and blue lights paint the living room walls as federal agents swarm the property. The tension in Chloe's family's home reaches a fever pitch when the front door is kicked inward. Leo is shoved hard against the hallway wall, his designer tracksuit staining with drywall dust as an agent ratchets steel handcuffs around his wrists. He isn't vlogging now. He is sobbing hysterically, begging his mother to fix it as they read him his rights for grand larceny and wire fraud. Do something. Brenda shrieks, clawing at an agent's tactical vest. He's just a boy. He's an entrepreneur. Tom stands frozen, watching the FBI carry out boxes of hard drives, his face completely pale as the fallout consumes his home. Amidst the chaos, Chloe looks at her trembling parents. She attempts one last, desperate reach out. Mom, Dad, listen to me. Let the police take him. Do not touch his accounts or hide anything. If you cooperate right now, you might still save yourselves from being charged as accessories. Please, just tell the truth. Shut up. Tom roars, spinning on her with blind rage. This is your fault. You didn't protect your brother. You're dead to us, Chloe. A wave of bitter regret washes over her, regret for ever thinking a crisis would shatter their delusion. But right behind it comes a profound sense of vindication. They have chosen their sinking ship. Chloe slowly steps outside, letting the flashing siren lights fade into the background as she walks away from the wreckage. Tom and Brenda look at Chloe like a thirsty person sees an oasis. Chloe, thank God you are here. The FB. I think we're accomplices because Leo's LLC is registered to our address. Tom says meekly. They froze our bank account. Then he finds his anger, his voice rising sharply. And Leo is in jail. Help us, Chloe. Brenda grabs Chloe's blazer, trailing tears onto her sleeve. You have to hack the servers, Chloe. Wipe the database before they decode it. And write the $500,000 bond check. You have the money. They are drowning, yet they still expect her to be their anchor. Chloe looks at their frantic, desperate faces. She tries one last reach out, her voice steady, but laced with pain. If I pay this bail, if I risk my entire career and freedom to help you clear this up legally, will you finally stop? Will you admit Leo is a criminal and face the truth together as a family? Tom scoffed, his desperate gratitude instantly morphing back into demanding arrogance. Don't negotiate with us. Leo is the victim here. Just fix it like you always do. A profound wave of regret washes over Chloe. Regret for hoping, even for a split second, that terror would make them honest. But right behind it comes a surge of absolute vindication. She doesn't have to save people who love their delusion more than their daughter. No, Chloe says. She steps back, pulling her arm away from her mother's grip. She buttons her blazer, picks up her laptop bag, and looks at them with complete clarity. They enabled the fire, and she is done acting as their firefighter. She turns her back on the chaos and walks out into the quiet night. Brenda grips Chloe's arms, her eyes wild. Pay Leo's $500,000 bail. And you're good at computers. Hack the FBI servers and delete all files. You can crack the encryption. Chloe stares in sheer disbelief. You want me to commit a federal cybercrime? Derek stands near the door, backing away shakily. You have to do it, Chloe. My money is tied up in assets. Plus, I can't be associated with a felon. That would ruin my reputation. Good luck, guys. He bolts out the door, abandoning them to save his own skin. The story hits its fever pitch as Tom steps into Derek's place, towering over Chloe. He's right. Your brother's life is on the line. Fire up your laptop and start wiping those drives, or you are no daughter of ours. Chloe looks at her parents, cornered by their corruption. She tries one last, desperate reach out to whatever humanity they have left. Mom, Dad, listen to what you are asking me to do. If I get caught, I lose my license, my career, and my freedom. I will go to federal prison. Does my life mean so little to you? Do you care about my future at all? Brenda doesn't even blink. You're smart. You won't get caught. Leo needs you. A crushing wave of regret hits Chloe. Regret for every sacrifice she ever made for people who would gladly throw her into a jail cell to shield their favorite criminal. But instantly, a searing, beautiful vindication floods her chest. The ultimate boundary has been drawn for her. I'm out, Chloe says, her voice a deadly calm. She hoists her laptop bag over her shoulder. I choose my future. Enjoy yours. She walks past her screaming parents, stepping across the threshold into absolute freedom. Tom steps into her space, his jaw clenched, his eyes boring into hers. The anger radiating off him is palpable. Derek has a career to protect. You're just a computer tech. Dad says, seething with bitter entitlement. Get on your laptop and fix this, and wire $50,000 to my account from my defense attorney right now. The demanding tone echoes the years of servitude they forced upon her, but the air in the room has changed. Chloe stands firm, looking at the man who helped raise her but never truly saw her. She makes one last, quiet reach out, giving him one final chance to be a father. Dad, if I give you that money, it is everything I have left in my personal savings. It's the down payment for my future. If I give it to you, will you finally respect me? Will you finally admit that Leo ruined this family and not me? Tom doesn't hesitate, his face twisting into an ugly sneer. You owe us that money. Don't you dare talk about respect while your family is drowning. A cold, heavy wave of regret settles in Chloe's chest. Regret for the little girl inside her who kept hoping for a miracle, waiting for a parent who would protect her. But right behind the sorrow comes a massive, liberating surge of vindication. She doesn't need to save them to prove her worth. No, Chloe says. The single word cuts through his rage like a blade. She hoists her bag onto her shoulder, turning her back on his shouting. By choosing her own safety over their unsustainable demands, she walks out the door, leaving him alone in the wreckage of his own creation. No, Chloe says. The word drops like an anvil, shattering a decade of forced compliance. Brenda gasps, clutching her chest. Excuse me? You are leaving us to drown? Tom steps forward, his veins bulging, trying to use his physical size to crush her resolve. You will do exactly as you are told, Chloe. We fed you. We housed you. You owe us your life. The entitlement in the room is suffocating, a toxic trap ready to pull her down with them. Chloe looks at her parents, offering one final, agonizing reach out. If I risk my freedom to hack those servers, if I give you my life savings, will you finally look at me with pride? Will you love me more than you love Leo's lies? Brenda scoffs, rolling her eyes. Don't be dramatic, Chloe. Just fix the problem. A crushing wave of regret hits Chloe, not for saying no, but for spending 27 years begging for crumbs of affection from people who view her only as a transaction. But right behind the grief comes a roaring, beautiful surge of vindication. The trap has lost its teeth. I owe you nothing, Chloe says, her voice suddenly dead calm. She hoists her laptop bag onto her shoulder and turns toward the door, finally stepping into a future she owns completely. Brenda's face contorts as she hurls her final weapon. If you walk out that door, you're no longer our daughter. The room goes dead silent. Chloe stops, letting out a sharp, exhausted laugh. For 10 years I was your ATM IT support and crisis manager, she says, her voice echoing off the walls. Tom steps up, sneering. You're ungrateful. Without this family, you're nothing. Chloe looks at them one last time, making an agonizing final reach out. Is that really all I am to you? If I stay and destroy my life for Leo, will you finally care about me? Will you ever just love me for being your daughter? Brenda looks away coldly. If you won't save Leo, you mean nothing to us. A sharp wave of regret hits Chloe. Regret for wasting a decade buying the love of people who only valued her bank account. But instantly, a roaring, liberating surge of vindication floods her chest. The threat isn't a punishment, it's an exit visa. Walking away is her greatest freedom. Chloe smiles, a sad, beautiful, completely unbound smile. That's the best offer you've ever given me. She turns the handle, steps out, and shuts the door on their toxic world forever. 6 months later, justice is served in a drab federal courtroom. The karma that finds Chloe's family reaches its ultimate conclusion as the judge bangs the gavel, sentencing Leo to 10 years for his Ponzi scheme. Leo sits in an orange jumpsuit, weeping uncontrollably as federal marshals prepare to lead him away. In the public gallery, Tom and Brenda look utterly broken, their skin sallow and eyes hollow. The reality of the foreclosure has fully set in. Their home is gone, their bank accounts are empty, and their pride is entirely shattered. As the bailiff steps forward, Brenda desperately locks eyes with the attorney, making one final, pathetic reach out through their representation. Can't we just call Chloe one more time? She begs, her voice shaking. If she talks to the judge, if she just explains his tech background, she could fix this sentence. She can still transfer something to save us from the motel. The lawyer simply shakes his head, sliding his documents into a briefcase. Your daughter blocked all legal correspondence months ago. She is entirely outside your reach. A crushing wave of bitter regret washes over Tom as he watches his youngest son get escorted through the heavy security doors. He finally feels the weight of the decades they spent enabling a criminal, while bleeding their only stable child dry. But for Chloe, who is entirely absent from the courtroom, the moment brings a quiet, powerful vindication. Across town in her own quiet sanctuary, she doesn't hear their crying or the gavel's final strike. The system has spoken, the fallout has consumed the guilty, and she is finally, beautifully free of their ruin. The voicemail notification on her screen is their final, pathetic reach out. Chloe, it's Mom. We're at a motel. We don't even have money for food. Please. The tranquility settles over her quiet townhouse like a heavy, peaceful blanket. The storm is over. Chloe stares at the text transcription, feeling the phantom tug of old, conditioned guilt. For a split second, she wants to ask, if I buy you groceries, will you finally say you're sorry? Will you finally love me? But she already knows the answer. They don't want a daughter. They want an ATM. Quiet regret washes over her for the years she spent trying to earn the affection of monsters. But right behind it comes a roaring, beautiful surge of absolute vindication. She doesn't owe them her life. With a steady thumb, Chloe taps block caller and deletes the message. The digital link snaps, and with it, the last of her chains. She turns off the kitchen light, stepping into the warm silence of a home she bought with her own hard work. The screen goes black. She has chosen herself, and for the first time in her life, she is entirely safe. By breaking the cycle of exploitation, Chloe shows that sometimes the hardest decision, walking away, is the only path to a better life. The ultimate end of her story is written not in their ruin, but in her silence. She does not look back to see if they understand her absence, because she finally understands her own value. She tries one last inward reach out, a quiet thought dedicated to the little girl who tried so hard to save everyone else. You did enough. It's okay to let go. A wave of tender regret passes through her for the decades lost to fear and manipulation. Yet, it is instantly eclipsed by a profound, radiant vindication. The peaceful walls of her home are proof that she survived. She has traded the heavy weight of their endless demands for the light, unburdened air of her own freedom. As she closes her eyes in the quiet dark, she knows she didn't just walk away from a toxic family. She walked forward into her own life. The end. If you liked this video and would like more content like this, please like, comment, and hype this and other Queen Liz videos. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free for you, and Queen Liz would be ever so grateful.